A stranger stood at the iron gates of the Hawthorne estate, claiming a truth no one in that mansion ever expected to hear. Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Ethan and Lucas Hawthorne, identical Caucasian twins in their late 30s, impeccably dressed, with light beards and well-kept brown hair, had heard every sort of lie in their lives, and heirs to a billion-dollar real estate empire stretching across the United States. They were used to people trying to get close, trying to take advantage, trying to claim some connection that never existed, but never something like this. The stranger looked eerily like them. He had the same jawline, the same deep-set eyes, the same faint scar near the right eyebrow. A scar the twins had shared since childhood. He stood there in a wrinkled denim jacket, clutching a folder as if it were the only thing tethering him to reality. "My name is Adam," he said, voice unsteady yet determined, "and I'm your brother, your triplet." The wind stopped. Even the security guards froze. Ethan exchanged a quick, uneasy glance with Lucas, a silent conversation in a single second. This wasn't the first time someone had pretended to be related to them, but never with such an uncanny resemblance, and certainly not with documentation in hand. "Triplets don't just go missing," Ethan finally said, arms crossed. "If you're lying, this ends now." "I'm not lying," Adam insisted. "I was adopted out at birth. I only found out 2 months ago, and I can prove it." He opened the folder with trembling fingers. Birth records, hospital signatures, documents stamped by a small-town clinic in Colorado, even a photo of a newborn, a third baby next to 2 others. Lucas felt something shift inside him. A memory, or maybe just an imagined echo of one, flickered in the back of his mind. He had always felt a strange emptiness he could never explain. But this, no. It was impossible. Their mother had never mentioned another child. Their father had died a decade ago, taking with him many secrets, but something as monumental as a triplet. "Why now?" Lucas asked, his voice lower. "Why come find us after almost 40 years?" Adam swallowed. "Because the truth is catching up, and because someone didn't want you to know I existed." A cold tension swept across the front steps of the mansion. The idea that their own family, or someone connected to the Hawthorne legacy, might have hidden a third sibling sent a chill straight down Ethan's spine. "Do a DNA test," Adam said quietly. "Then you'll know I'm telling the truth." Silence pressed in on the 3 men. Lucas finally nodded. "Fine. We'll do it. But understand something. If this is a scam, we end it fast." Adam's expression didn't waver. "I'm ready." What none of them realized was that the test would reveal far more than a simple biological connection. It would crack open a history buried beneath decades of lies, rivalry, and a truth the Hawthorne family had sworn never to expose. The DNA clinic in downtown Denver smelled like antiseptic and tension. Ethan and Lucas sat side by side, their posture rigid, their matching tailored coats making them look like mirror images carved from impatience. Adam sat across from them, his worn jacket and nervous tapping creating a stark contrast against their polished composure. The nurse had taken their samples 20 minutes earlier. Now all they could do was wait. Lucas's knee bounced restlessly. "If this is real, if he's actually our brother," Ethan cut him off. "Don't get ahead of yourself." But the truth was, Ethan wasn't as steady as he sounded. The resemblance had shaken him in ways he didn't want to admit. There was something familiar in Adam's posture, in the way he rubbed his eyebrow when thinking, a gesture Ethan and Lucas had unknowingly mirrored since childhood. Adam broke the silence. "I know this is impossible to accept, but I grew up feeling like something was missing. My adoptive parents never lied. They told me I came from a complicated situation." "Complicated how?" Lucas asked. Adam hesitated. They said a woman came to the clinic in a panic the day I was born. That she insisted I be given to someone else. That she didn't want anyone to know there were 3 of us. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Our mother would never do that. Adam's eyes softened. Are you sure? The room grew still. Lucas clenched his jaw. Their mother, Eleanor Hawthorne, had always been graceful, composed, fiercely protective of the family image. But protective could easily become secretive, and powerful families didn't rise without burying a few truths. Before Lucas could speak, the nurse returned with a sealed envelope. The results are ready. Adam's breath hitched. Ethan's fingers curled into fists. Lucas felt his pulse in his throat. The nurse placed the envelope on the table and left the room. None of them reached for it at first. Finally, Ethan grabbed it, tearing the seal with one swift motion. His eyes scanned the paper, his face tightening with every line. Lucas leaned in. Well, what does it say? Ethan swallowed hard. It says he's our brother. Adam let out a shaky exhale, almost collapsing into the chair, but Ethan wasn't finished. His voice dropped lower. And that's not all. Lucas frowned. What else? Ethan hesitated, something he never did, before sliding the paper across the table. At the bottom of the page was an unexpected note from the geneticist. Sample indicates potential non-maternity anomaly. Recommends secondary maternal verification. Lucas stared at the words, unable to process them. Adam whispered, non-maternity anomaly. Does that mean? Ethan nodded slowly, fear and disbelief mixing in his eyes. It means there's a chance none of us were born from the woman we thought was our mother, and what came next would shake the Hawthorne brothers more deeply than any DNA test ever could. The drive back to the Hawthorne mansion felt colder than the mountain air outside. Ethan gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles whitened, while Lucas stared blankly out the window, replaying the words non-maternity anomaly over and over. Adam rode in the back seat, silent. He had expected disbelief, anger, maybe even rejection, but he had not expected their entire family tree to fracture in the span of a single afternoon. When they arrived, the mansion's warm lights did nothing to ease the tension. Eleanor Hawthorne was waiting in the sitting room, elegant as ever in a cream silk blouse and pearl earrings. She set down her book as they entered. "You 3 look like ghosts," she said softly. "What happened?" The twins exchanged a glance. Ethan spoke first. "We did a DNA test." Eleanor froze, the color draining from her face. Her fingers tightened around the armrest, ever so slightly. Lucas stepped forward. "Mom, we need you to be honest with us." "Honest about what?" Eleanor asked, but her voice trembled. Adam stepped into the light, and Eleanor's breath caught in her throat. Her hand rose to her chest as if she had seen an apparition. Who is he?" she whispered. "My name is Adam," he said gently, "and I think I'm your son." The room seemed to shrink around them. Eleanor sank slowly onto the sofa. No, this cannot be happening." Ethan approached her. "The results say he's our brother, but they also say something else, something about you not being," his voice cracked, "not being our biological mother." Eleanor closed her eyes, tears gathering at the edges. "I hoped this day would never come," she whispered. Lucas felt his heart drop. So it's true. But before she could answer, the double doors burst open. Richard Hale, the family attorney who had been with them since childhood, stormed in, his usually calm demeanor replaced by controlled urgency. "Eleanor," he said sharply, "you cannot discuss this without legal counsel present." Ethan frowned. "Why is our lawyer interrupting a family conversation?" Richard ignored him, turning to Eleanor with a look that conveyed decades of guarded secrets. But Eleanor shook her head. "No more lies, Richard. Not tonight." Richard exhaled, resigned. "Very well." Eleanor looked at her sons, all three of them, with a sorrow that chilled the room. The truth is, the woman who gave birth to you disappeared the day after you were born. Lucas staggered back. What do you mean, disappeared? Eleanor wiped a tear from her cheek. She was part of a private medical program your father funded, a program that should never have existed, Adam whispered. And what about me? Eleanor's voice broke. You were taken, stolen, before I even arrived at the hospital. I didn't know there were 3 of you until it was too late. Silence swallowed the room. Everyone thought it was over. It wasn't. If this story is already touching you, leave a like. It helps the channel a lot. Ethan felt the ground tilt beneath him. The mansion, once a symbol of stability and power, now felt like a vault of buried sins. Lucas rubbed his forehead, pacing in short, frantic steps, while Adam remained still, absorbing every word, every painful implication. Richard Hale adjusted his glasses, his expression grave. There are things about your birth that were never meant to surface. Your father was a brilliant businessman, but he was also a man who believed he could control any outcome, including the creation of his own heirs. Lucas froze. Creation? What are you talking about? Eleanor inhaled shakily. Your father funded an experimental fertility program in the late 1980s. It was controversial, secretive. He wanted children who were genetically perfect, strong, intelligent, capable of leading what he envisioned as a legacy that would last generations. Ethan's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. Are you saying we were engineered? Eleanor looked away. The silence was answer enough. Adam blinked hard. And me? Was I part of that too? Richard nodded. All 3 of you were part of the same program. But during delivery, chaos erupted. One of the doctors realized what your father was doing. She panicked. She believed no one should have that much power over human life, Lucas whispered, horrified. She took Adam. Yes, Eleanor said. She took him and vanished. Ethan stared at Adam with a new, surreal understanding. Not only were they brothers, they were products of a design none of them chose. But why didn't you tell us? Ethan demanded, turning to Eleanor. Because your father made me promise, she replied, tears falling freely now. He said the world wasn't ready, that you weren't ready. And after he died, I couldn't bear to destroy the image you had of him. The room vibrated with tension, grief, disbelief. Adam stepped forward. If you knew I existed, why didn't you look for me? Eleanor's face collapsed into anguish. Because the doctor who took you left a note. It said you were safe, loved and far from your father's reach. She begged me not to search. She said if we did, it would put you in danger. That last sentence hit Ethan like a strike to the chest. In danger from who? He asked. Richard's eyes darkened. From a partner your father worked with, a man who wanted to claim the project for himself. Lucas stiffened. Is he still alive? Richard hesitated. Yes. And if Adam resurfaced, he will know the others are connected to him too. The brothers exchanged a look, fear mixed with something sharper. What came next changed everything. The storm outside the mansion intensified, lightning cracking over the Rocky Mountains as if the sky itself were reacting to the truth unraveling inside. Ethan, Lucas, and Adam stood together now, not by choice, but by a shared danger none of them fully understood. Richard Hale moved toward the fireplace, grabbing a folder he had hidden behind a decorative sculpture. There is something else you need to see, he said, voice low. He opened the folder and revealed surveillance photos, grainy shots of a man in his 60s, sharp-featured, with cold eyes and silver hair. In another image, he was boarding a private jet. In the next, meeting with men who looked more like operatives than businessmen. Lucas felt a chill crawl up his spine. Who is that? Richard exhaled. Dr. Marcus Wechsler, your father's former partner, a geneticist who believed your birth project should have continued, without limits. Ethan's jaw clenched. Why is he watching us? Because Adam resurfacing means the project wasn't destroyed, Richard said, and Wechsler has spent decades trying to rebuild what your father ended. Adam swallowed hard. What would he want from me? Not just you, Richard replied. All of you. Eleanor stepped closer to her sons, her hands trembling. Your father shut Wechsler down when he realized the man wanted total ownership. He burned the research, cut off funding, and buried the existence of the project. Wechsler vanished shortly after. Lucas frowned. But if the research was destroyed... Richard hesitated. Not all of it. Ethan shot him a sharp look. What are you saying? Richard removed a stamped document from the folder. Your father stored a backup of the project data in a secure vault in Aspen. Ethan, Lucas, your names are on the access list. Lucas's eyes widened. He left it to us. Yes, and Wechsler knows that if he finds one of you, he finds the vault. A heavy silence settled over the room. Adam broke it. So he's coming for us. Richard nodded. He's already looking. Thunder cracked. Eleanor clasped her hands together, her voice shaking. We have to leave, all of us, tonight. Ethan straightened. No, we're not running. Ethan, Eleanor began. He shook his head. If our father left us that vault, he wanted us to know the truth, to decide what happens next, and I will not let some ghost from his past decide our future. Lucas stepped beside his brother. We go to Aspen. We open the vault. We end this. Adam, for the first time since arriving, felt a strange surge of belonging. Then I'm going with you. Richard looked at them with quiet resolve. If you're going, you won't be the only ones headed there. Everyone turned to him. Richard held up a tracking report. Wechsler's plane landed in Colorado an hour ago. He had no idea the worst was yet to come. Snow hammered against the windshield as the black SUV climbed the narrow mountain road toward Aspen. Ethan drove with laser focus, the headlights cutting through sheets of white. Lucas sat beside him, scanning every passing car with suspicion. Adam rode in the back, staring at the swirling snow, trying to steady his thoughts. This morning he'd been a stranger. Tonight he was part of a war he never knew existed. Richard followed in a second vehicle behind them, staying close, while Eleanor remained at the mansion under security detail. She had begged them not to go, but the decision was made. The vault awaited. When they reached the secluded property, a remote lodge that once belonged to their father, Lucas shivered at its ominous stillness. Tall pines bent under the snow's weight, and the mountains surrounding the lodge looked like silent watchers. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and dust. Ethan moved directly toward the study, removing a framed photograph from the wall. Behind it, exactly as Richard had described, was a biometric panel. Place your hand, Ethan told Adam. Adam blinked. Me? Lucas nodded slowly. If we were created together, your genetic signature might unlock it too. Adam pressed his palm against the scanner. A soft chime echoed. Access granted. A mechanical rumble shook the room as a hidden door slid open, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. Lucas exhaled. I guess that confirms it. The brothers exchanged a brief, unified look, their first instinctive moment of connection. They descended into a dim underground room filled with steel cabinets, old monitors, sealed containers, and dozens of data drives neatly labeled with their father's handwriting. Adam approached a shelf labeled Project Hawthorne, Phase 3. Ethan's voice echoed softly. This is what we were never meant to see. Lucas lifted a thick binder containing medical charts and genetic diagrams. These files are almost 40 years old, and they look intense. Adam found a stack of old tapes. What's on these? A sudden metallic clang broke the silence. Everyone froze. Ethan motioned for quiet and moved up the stairs, each step deliberate. The lodge above was dark except for the faint glow of the SUV headlights outside. Lucas followed, gripping a fire poker like a weapon. When they reached the living room, the front door stood slightly open, just an inch, but enough to raise every alarm. Adam's voice trembled from behind them. "We locked that!" Snow blew in through the gap. Ethan leaned forward, pushing the door shut with a controlled breath. "Someone was here." Lucas checked the porch. No footprints, no tire tracks. The falling snow had erased everything, but something else caught his eye. A small device lodged under the railing. A drone, no bigger than a fist. Its lens cracked, its lights blinking faintly. Adam stepped closer. "Is that a camera?" Lucas nodded grimly. "Someone was watching us, tracking us." Ethan lifted the drone, turning it over. A logo was etched into the metal, 3 overlapping triangles. Richard, who had just arrived at the doorway, inhaled sharply. "That's Wexler's mark." Adam felt his pulse spike. "So he already knows we're here." Richard's jaw tightened. "Yes, and if he knows, he's not far behind." Thunder rolled in the distance, muffled by the mountains. For the first time since arriving, Adam sensed something deeper, an intuition he couldn't explain. "We need to check the vault again, all of it." They returned downstairs, digging through documents and files with mounting urgency. Ethan flipped a page and froze. "Guys, look at this." Lucas leaned in. "What is it?" Ethan pointed to a line typed near the bottom of a faded report. "Subject C was relocated due to instability concerns. Retrieval recommended." Adam's breath caught. "Subject C, that's me." Ethan shook his head slowly, dread rising. "Adam, you were labeled for retrieval, but not by our father." Lucas swallowed hard. "By Wexler." Adam felt the cold sink deeper than the mountain air. Everyone thought understanding the past would give them answers. It only raised the stakes. A low hum vibrated through the vault, the sound of old machines powering up as Ethan connected one of the data drives to a dusty monitor. The screen flickered, then glowed with a pale blue interface. Rows of encrypted files populated the display, each labeled with cold clinical precision. Lucas hovered behind him. "Open the earliest one." Ethan clicked. A video appeared, a sterile laboratory, doctors in white coats moving briskly. A younger version of their father, Raymond Hawthorne, stood at the center giving orders with unsettling authority. Adam stepped closer, his breath fogging the air. "That's him." Raymond spoke to the camera. "Phase 1 complete. The embryos have developed beyond projected parameters. If results continue at this pace, we may exceed even Wexler's predictions." Lucas frowned. "Embryos, plural." Ethan clicked again. The next video showed 3 incubators, 3 tiny forms moving inside. Adam felt his legs weaken. Ethan and Lucas went pale. Raymond continued. "Subjects A and B appear stable. Subject C shows heightened neurological activity, possibly exceeding the others. This could make him the most valuable specimen." Adam whispered, "Specimen." That's how he saw us. Lucas's stomach turned. None of this was supposed to happen. Dad wasn't supposed to, but Ethan wasn't listening anymore. He fast-forwarded. Another video. Another confession. This time, Raymond's voice trembled. "Wexler wants to accelerate the program. He refuses to acknowledge the risks. He wants total control. I cannot allow it. The children deserve lives, not labs." Adam blinked. "So he tried to stop it." Lucas nodded. "That's why he shut Wexler down. That's why everything was buried." But Ethan wasn't satisfied. "There's something missing, something bigger." He clicked open a final file labeled Emergency Protocol, Transfer Orders. Inside was a document stamped with hospital records, signatures, and a shocking detail. There were 4 infants. Adam staggered. 4? But the program created 3 of us. Ethan read aloud with a hollow voice. Subject D, stillbirth recorded. Body transferred to medical disposal unit. A cold dread spread through the room. Lucas shook his head. No, that can't be right. We were only ever told there were 2 of us. Ethan scrolled further and froze when he saw the next page. Lucas, Adam, look at this. Under the disposal report was a handwritten note, faded but legible. Subject D removed from facility by Dr. Wexler. No record of transfer. Do not alert Raymond. Adam's voice cracked. He took another baby? For the first time, Ethan felt true fear. If Wexler took a 4th child, then he has been raising someone with our DNA for nearly 40 years. Lucas clenched his fists. Why? For what purpose? Richard inhaled sharply. To complete the project. To create the heir your father refused to. Lightning struck outside, illuminating the vault with a flash of white. Adam's voice trembled. So there's someone out there. Someone like us. Raised by Wexler. Ethan nodded slowly. Not just someone like us. Someone built to surpass us. Lucas stepped back, chills rippling across his arms. A 4th brother, Adam whispered, a stranger raised to finish a legacy we never agreed to. Before they could speak again, the security alarm upstairs shrieked through the lodge, a long, piercing warning. Ethan's eyes snapped toward the stairs. That's motion detection. Someone's in the house. Everyone froze. Lucas whispered the words they all feared. He's here. The alarm wailed through the lodge, echoing off the wooden beams like a scream swallowed by the mountains. Ethan motioned for silence, his eyes sharp, every muscle tense. Lucas grabbed the fire poker again, gripping it so tightly his knuckles turned white. Adam stayed close behind them, his breath shallow, his heart pounding in his ears. Richard drew a small, tactical flashlight from his coat, proof he had anticipated more danger than he'd admitted. Footsteps sounded above them, slow, deliberate. Someone was walking across the wooden floor of the living room. Ethan whispered, "Stay behind me." Lucas added, "No matter what happens, stay together." Adam nodded, though his legs trembled beneath him. They climbed the stairs with controlled caution. The alarm kept ringing, the red lights strobing across the walls. Shadows stretched unnaturally with every flash. The footsteps stopped. Ethan reached the top, then froze. A figure stood near the broken front window, silhouetted by the storm outside, tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark coat flecked with snow. His posture was calm, too calm. He turned slowly, and the 3 brothers stared into a face nearly identical to their own. Adam inhaled sharply. Lucas felt every hair on his arms rise. Ethan's chest locked, the air trapped inside him. The stranger had their eyes, their jawline, their expression, controlled, confident, unreadable. But there was something colder in him, something sharpened, as if he had been sculpted out of discipline and ambition rather than childhood and love. "Hello," the man said calmly. "I've been waiting a long time for this." Ethan stepped forward. "Who are you?" The stranger tilted his head, as if amused by the question. "I'm Daniel." The name hit Adam like a blow. "Daniel, Subject D." Daniel nodded with a faint, chilling smile. "That's what Wexler called me, but I prefer Daniel Hawthorne." Lucas swallowed. "You knew about us." "I've known everything about you," Daniel replied. "I was raised for one purpose, to complete what your father began. Wexler trained me, educated me, prepared me, and when Adam resurfaced, I knew the final stage had begun." Adam shook his head. "Final stage of what?" Daniel's eyes darkened. "To unify the lineage, to claim the legacy your father denied Wexler. The Hawthorne Empire wasn't meant to be split among heirs. It was meant to be perfected." Ethan stepped closer, fury rising. "We're not experiments. We're not pieces in some project." Daniel's calm never wavered. Maybe not to you, but I was raised understanding the truth. Only one of us was meant to lead, and I'm here to take what was designed for me. Richard moved subtly toward the side, trying to reach the security console. Daniel didn't even look at him. "Don't," he said. Richard froze. Lucas's voice shook with a mix of anger and heartbreak. "You don't have to do this. You're our brother." Daniel's expression softened just barely. "Brotherhood is earned, not manufactured." Adam stepped forward, against Ethan's protective arm. "Daniel, we didn't choose how we were born, but neither did you. You can walk away from Vexler. You can choose your own life." For the first time, something flickered in Daniel's eyes. Conflict, maybe even longing, but it vanished instantly. "No," he said. "My life was chosen for me, and so is yours." He reached into his coat. Ethan lunged. Lucas grabbed Adam and shoved him back. Richard slammed the security override. A deafening blast of reinforced shutters sealed the windows, and a steel barrier dropped between Daniel and the brothers. Daniel's hand never reached a weapon, but instead revealed a slim black tracking device. He pressed it. A single red light blinked. Then he stepped back into the storm as the shutters fully locked him out. Ethan ran to the barrier, slamming his fist against it. "Daniel, come back!" But Daniel's voice echoed faintly from the other side. "This isn't the end. It's the beginning." His silhouette dissolved into the snow, leaving only the crimson glow of the tracker blinking like a warning beacon. The brothers stood together, breathing hard, shaken, unified by a fear far bigger than their DNA. Adam whispered, "What now?" Ethan looked at his brothers, at the vault, at the shuttered windows, hiding a man who shared their blood but not their loyalty. "We learn everything," he said. "We uncover every secret, and then we stop Vexler and Daniel." Lucas placed a hand on Adam's shoulder. "Whatever happens next, we face it as brothers." Adam let out a trembling breath. For the first time, despite the danger, despite the chaos, despite the unraveling of everything he thought he knew, he felt like he finally belonged somewhere. A family formed not by choice, not by design, but by truth. The storm continued outside, and somewhere in the blinding snow, Daniel watched in and waited. If you're enjoying these stories, subscribe to the channel and follow the next videos, and tell us in the comments what this story meant to you. The following morning rose pale over the mountains, sunlight cutting through the last wisps of the blizzard. Inside the lodge, the three brothers sat around the heavy wooden table, exhausted, silent, but united in a way none of them could have imagined even days earlier. Adam stared at the blinking tracker Daniel had left behind. "Do you think he's still close?" Ethan nodded. "He wants us to know he's out there. He wants pressure, fear." He pushed the device away. "We're not giving him either." Lucas flipped through another file recovered from the vault. "There's enough evidence here to expose Vexler to every federal agency in the country. If we take this public, the project ends for good." Richard pressed his palms together, hesitant. "Exposing Vexler may also expose you. The media frenzy would be unimaginable." Adam looked between his brothers. "So what do we do?" Ethan answered with unusual gentleness. "We stop being victims of our past. We take control of it." Lucas nodded. "We find Vexler. We confront Daniel again, and we decide, on our own terms, what the Hawthorne legacy becomes." For the first time, Adam felt something warm settling inside him. Not fear, not confusion, belonging. The brothers gathered the remaining files, loaded the vault drives into secure cases, and prepared to leave Aspen. As they stepped outside, the snow had softened into a calm white blanket across the mountain. Ethan locked the door behind them. "This isn't over," he said quietly. Lucas looked toward the tree line, where distant footprints led away into the forest, the only sign Daniel had ever been there. It's not supposed to be, Lucas replied. Some stories don't end. They evolve. Adam placed a hand over his heart. Whatever comes next, I'm not running from it. Not anymore. The SUV engines rumbled to life. Three brothers, strangers only days earlier, now bound by truth, danger, and a future none of them could yet see. And somewhere far beyond the ridge, Daniel watched through the frost-covered branches, the red tracker blinking faintly in his gloved palm. Soon, he whispered, very soon. The legacy of the Hawthorne bloodline had only just begun. If you're enjoying these stories, subscribe to the channel and follow the next videos, and tell us in the comments what this story meant to you.